Hi, my name is Sophia, and welcome to your channel. I am Soma, channel dedicated to investigating into illuminating the inner world for a greater expression of our highest in the outer. So it's been a long time since I've done this on a video. I'm always an astrologer, right? Once an astrologer, you're always with the stars. I tell people that I am not from this world. I am an intergalactic being here on a special mission to accomplish what might come forth during this incarnation. And so we have an opportunity during this cycle um, to really overcome, to transcend, to go beyond the limits that have bound us to people, places, and things that don't serve us, but that we are unable to achieve greater freedom from, whether it be behaviors or information that we seek out or people that we are addicted to, for lack of a better term, that we feel we need to have in our lives. Actually, I think that is a predominant theme right now. It came through loud and clear yesterday when I went to um, initiate the process of getting myself back on track with doing videos for astrology, right? So I noticed in my awareness um, a feeling of what is this thing called self-care, right? Because ultimately the goal of astrology is personal development. And in order to develop, in order to evolve, we have to be looking more closely at how we are caring for ourselves, because without self-care, it is not possible to move to the next rung in our evolutionary cycle, our evolutionary journey, on our own very personal, intimate path back to self-realization. Self-realization being realization of your oneness with the creative spirit. And that creative spirit is called by many different names in different traditions of knowledge on earth. Here we're going to call it source. Um, we are one with source, right? Were we not one with source, would I even exist? Right? So everything around us, everyone is one with source. Is self-realization is realizing the self, realizing that oneness with source. And it is with that in mind that I open the chart every day. To be honest, I look at the chart every day. I notice all the movements and how I can improve upon my own expression in the hologram that we call life, and that is expressing itself throughout the entire cosmology, right? Throughout the entire universe. Everything is aligned just so that we can exist here, right? So in that way, we are forever a hologram of that relationship, or those relationships between the different stellar forces within, because the universe. So let's get to the chart, right? You guys are like, okay, enough. So we're having a first quarter square. The first quarter square is very interesting dynamic that takes place, right? Remember, when we're speaking about the squares, many people think it's just the moon, it's the moon. No, the moon is reflecting the relationship between the sun and the earth and the planets, and then the sun, the earth, and the planets have a backdrop of stars, of lunar mansions that are informing that process. So when we speak about a first quarter, we're speaking about the first challenge to the seed of the new moon. And at the seed of the new moon, which took place on February 5th or February 6th, depending on your time zone, then we had at the very exact moment of the moon, quite interestingly, we had all the planets located on one side of the chart. And I think that that's very interesting. They were all hemmed between what they will call malefics, meaning influences that are, malefics just means that these influences are gonna, they're the nitty gritty work. They're the work that is not, it doesn't come lightly. It requires introspection, and people don't want to look within, right? People want to look outside, and then we have been trained to constantly go outside for information as opposed to identifying what is true for us within our own heart and mind and spirit. So all the planets were hemmed between Pluto and Mars. Mars, impulse, action, life force. Mars has been in Gemini for almost 7 months, about to move out of that sign and into Cancer. Oof, what a splash it's going to make in Cancer, but more about that later. So we had the Mars and then Pluto. Pluto is sitting at the very last degree of Capricorn, where it's been since 2007. So you can look back to 2007 to see what major upheaval and transformation that you experienced in your life over the past 17 years or however long that has been, 2007, 2017, yeah, about that time. And there has been some major dismantling of a structure in your life. It was in Capricorn, and Pluto is a sign of rebirth. And before you're born again, you have to suffer a death, right? So there is a death of the ego that has to take place. And with that death, as we transmute and transform our inner world, the outer begins to change. And so we find there's a new panorama around us, and you can look and investigate for yourself. Look back to 2007, 2008. What was rumbling in your life? What was just not moving forward? What was indicated and what has not moved forward until you decided to take matters. And many times we don't have a choice. Either you work with the energy or you'll be torn, because Pluto is a force of nature that you cannot contend with. Your arms are too short to box with God. I think it was the name of a play or something at some point, or a book. But in any event, so all the planets are hemmed between these two incredible forces of nature, asking us to take that, this is the last remaining action. Now Pluto's going to move into Aquarius, where it'll be for some time. It'll move back into Capricorn during the summer. So it's just going to give us a little taste, a flavor of the inner work that you've done that will allow you to reach for the next rung in your own evolutionary cycle, or perhaps work that still needs to be done so that that goal can be achieved. And you'll get a real good flavor for that during this lunar cycle and in the months to come, as Pluto makes its entry into the sign of Aquarius in March. Many changes happening in March. What that tells me about the first quarter square, which is a relationship of challenge that's taking place, to the seed that was planted, that transformation. This is it. Pluto's moving. It's going to give you that flavor for something. There will be, just like there will be a quake within us, and many earthquakes within our own consciousness, as we make an assessment of what needs to go, what needs to change, what needs more attention so that it can be rebuilt. Where are you going? And self-care is a clue to that, right? So how are you taking care of yourself? Mercury is in the sign of Capricorn, and Capricorn rules structure. Mercury is the nervous system. How are you taking care of the structure where your nervous system is anchored? What does that look like in your life on a daily basis? What are your routines, right? And so we're going to be asked, and we're going to be tasked with the chore of making it right. And if you're looking outside of yourself, if you are still listening to the news for information and not tapping into your higher knowledge, into the knowing within, to know where to go and what to do, and to be guided, are you living in the knowledge that you're protected? Are you living in fear? And if you're living in fear, then you're going to multiply that as these planets move into the next signs during the month of March, and there's a lot of activity to cover there, then that's what's going to come up, and that's what's being highlighted right now. So the chart for this first quarter square is asking us to take action, to express, to move, to dance in the direction of enlivening that desire, enlivening that goal. What letters can you write? What phone calls can you make? What partnerships can be breached at this time? What bridge can you cross without burning, so that, and those that need to be burned need to go, because the realization of where it is that you want is loud and clear within you. Nobody can tell you. There isn't an astrologer who has the answer to that. And if there's an astrologer who's telling you how to live your life, then without looking at your chart, and not how to live your life, but suggesting ways that you can heal so that you can grow, then if someone doesn't have your chart, they have no way of knowing. So this sun sign astrology doesn't work that way quite. It doesn't quite work that way. It is necessary to have a full idea of what the chart looked at birth, because that is the blueprint. And then the transits are the placements of those energies today and how they align with the blueprint, which is the natal chart. So an astrologer who doesn't have your natal chart cannot tell you. The sun is just going to highlight where our attention, where our awareness may be more inclined to go. But the joy of astrology is in giving you an opportunity to exercise freedom of choice and free will, and decide what action you're going to take, despite the fact that in the mind we might be obsessed with a memory. In the mind we might be thinking about something that happened in the past and things that didn't go right. How did you conquer that? That's in your natal chart. Okay, so the breaking away from the limit, whatever that means to you personally. And the moon, I'm going to bring it up on the screen so that you can see it. The moon is in, here we go, let me share that screen. Okay, so the moon here is in the sign of Taurus when this happens. And this is in the sign of Taurus, actually, in the sidereal chart, not the tropical chart. In the tropical chart, that moon would be in Gemini, just 23 degrees ahead. So in the sidereal sign, there is a pull to desire. There's a pull to stubbornness. There's a pull to the senses, right? But in actuality, in our lives, the way it's showing up is via communication, via technology. How are you using the tools that you have at your fingertips to communicate more effectively? How are you moving about your neighborhood and your community? that is all going to be challenged right now by the sun in Pisces. Here we see the sun in Aquarius because astronomically, the sun is in Aquarius right now, but seasonally, which is the tropical zodiac, this moves into, the sun moves into Pisces, and it's at the early degree of Pisces, which is quite interesting. So I'm going to stop this share and go back to the conversation that we're having in Pisces with the nearing of Venus and Jupiter. We have a situation where there's a connection between our adventurous side, the side of us that wants to go it alone, wants to explore, wants to engage, wants to think in new ways and be innovative and develop a philosophy around our life goals and the way that we exercise our freedom, right? Because Sagittarius is the ruler of Sagittarius. Jupiter is a freedom-loving energy. And we have Venus. So Venus, the freedom to desire, to engage, to be in a place of worthiness, right? But remember, in Pisces, we also have in the stellar mythology, in Greek mythology, we have the Kraken. And the Kraken is the sea monster. And the sea monster would be the collective unconscious, right? Because that collective unconscious is actually the ocean of consciousness in which the two fish, one going in one direction and the other going in the opposite direction, that's a sign of Pisces. They come together by uniting with the cosmic force and realizing that there is no duality. Polarity is a construct of the ego. And so dropping the ego, the egoic nature, there is an impulse here for humanitarian energy because the new moon astronomically took place in Aquarius, which is a humanitarian sign. It's also very detached. So there can be the mistake of the intellect where we imagine now in Pisces that our purpose is something other than self-realization. But if you feel like you need to go out and correct the wrong, then that's what you need to do. Nobody can tell you otherwise. That's the magic of having embodied a physical structure that we call human, right? You could be a plant, you could be a mineral, you could be someone's pet. But you could be human and be someone's pet. It's up to you. Embodied in the flesh, swimming in the ocean of the collective unconscious, we can easily be gripped by the sea monster. And there is a very interesting mythology which indicates that sea monster is about to devour a princess. Her name is Andromeda. And Andromeda is a galaxy that's the nearest galaxy to our galaxy, it is said. I haven't seen it for myself. I don't own a telescope that allows me to peer into the universe. I don't believe anything anybody says that I did not cognize myself and that I don't feel a resonance to at the level of the heart. Because then I'm just repeating what other people say and I have no proof. Where's the proof? These composite images are not cutting it for me. And for my critical thinking skills are beyond being fed composite images Doesn't make any sense why we don't have actual images. Think about it. Anyway, so there is a mythology of the sea monster eating this woman who is clad in skin. She's not wearing clothes. She's completely naked, chained to rocks, that hardened place of beliefs, things that you hold to be true, that you refuse to change. That's the collective unconscious, dreaming their life away, right? Not, sleeping actually their life away, not waking up from that dream. And the rock can get really, really solid, and she's chained. And so in the story, Perseus, the winged horse, and with a rider on the horse looking a lot like our mercurial force, comes to save her. So how can you dissect with your mind the situations that you're in that make you feel trapped? This is the creative spirit. This is creative intelligence. That is the feminine. The feminine is the creative impulse. The masculine is the silent impulse. If you allow yourself to be chained to the rock and be afraid of the collective unconscious, what the world around you thinks about X, Y, and Z, and not take action, you have spoiled the seed of the new moon for this lunar cycle. So what is being asked of you at this time is to rise above, go beyond, transcend. Your spiritual practice has to be on point. How are you connecting to source? Plants, beach, water, ocean, trees, the forest. How is it that you establish that connection? You don't need to be there physically. You can bring it into your consciousness. The mind does not know the difference between what is actually happening and a projection that you might conceive with our mind. So how are you connecting to source? This is very important because right now you have an opportunity to take action, right? Expression, dance, move, write the letter, make the phone call, communicate your desire to move forward, and you will be supported. And that's the promise of this cycle. I have said so much. I did not intend to. All blessings. Thank you so much for listening. And I hope that there was an insight here that touched you in a very special way. I just love doing this, and I can't wait to see you again. Again, my name is Sophia, and this is your channel, I Am Soma. You can find me at iamsoma.com, and all my social media links will be there. Thank you. All blessings.